My fiancé, Oliver, and I were having dinner in our wedding home. His first love showed up with a child who looks just like him. The child directly picked up the milk tea next to me and took a sip. As a result, he fainted on the ground due to a severe allergy. Oliver immediately shouted at me, "Emily, how could you be so heartless? You won't even spare a child." His white moonlight said with tears in her eyes, "Oliver, this isn't her fault. It's normal for her to feel uneasy about our presence. It's just a pity for my Kyle." Oliver responded with a grim expression, "Emily, our wedding is postponed by a week. You can explain to your grandfather yourself tomorrow." I silently watched this man. He once knelt for a whole day and night in front of my grandfather to marry me. I scoffed coldly. "Say, no need, our marriage contract is canceled. You should go find a kind person to marry." Oliver frowned. He looked at me unhappily. "Emily, it was you who made the mistake. What are you causing a scene about now? Sophia and the others came to find us. It won't affect your status. Our marriage is a joint decision of both families. What are you worried about? The child Sophia brought looks like me, but he may not be my child. You're being so unreasonable. How can I feel at ease marrying you?" He asked 3 questions in a row. Each one was accusing me. He neither saw through Sophia's true intentions, nor did he notice that my fiancé felt embarrassed because of Sophia's actions. In his heart, what does my fiancé count as just a tool for an alliance? I really wanted to ask him, but seeing him gently pick up the child from the ground and hold the hand of the one he loves as they walked away, I suddenly felt it was no longer necessary to say these things. Oliver might think I was joking just now. After all, the fact that I'm marrying him has already spread among our friends. Tomorrow was supposed to be our wedding. He probably thinks that our marriage has been announced throughout the circle. There can't be any changes now. That's why he felt bold enough to suggest postponing the wedding by a week. I slightly curled my lips. My gaze gradually became cold. I'm Emily, and I'm not in such a hurry to get married. Our Johnson family doesn't need a son-in-law like that. My acquaintance with Oliver is quite interesting. His car accidentally scraped the rear of my car. He took the initiative to ask for my contact information. After compensating, he often checked on me. Later, we ran into each other a few times in the same circle. Slowly, we became familiar. Once, I accidentally drank spiked alcohol at a party. Oliver hurriedly took me to the hospital. I thought he was a nice person, and because he saved me this time, I developed a good impression of him. Later, we naturally came together. He proposed to me. I didn't agree right away. Instead, I took him back to the courtyard. After he learned my true identity, he knelt before my grandfather for a day and a night. He pleaded with my grandfather to approve of our marriage. I also begged my grandfather. In the end, my grandfather nodded. Only then did our marriage become officially public. That's how tomorrow's wedding came to be. Unfortunately, since getting engaged to me, Oliver's status at the Thompson Group has been rising. He handles any project in the circle with ease. He has evidently become a nouveau riche in New York. He is my fiancé. I don't mind him climbing up the ladder using the Thompson Group and the Johnson family's connections. But within a year, the person who knelt before my grandfather for a day and a night to marry me changed completely for his white moonlight, Sophia. He instantly became a different person. Once his white moonlight appeared, I lost without doing anything. My existence seemed to have become a mistake. His white moonlight, Sophia, during the most difficult times for the Thompson Group. He chose to go abroad with a foreign professor. They were apart for 6 years. He does not resent her for leaving during the hardest times at the Thompson Group. On the contrary, in front of me, he goes to great lengths to protect that mother and son. Anyone with discernment can see the intentions of that mother and son. But Oliver fails to understand. 3 months after his white moonlight returned to the country, all of Oliver's attention shifted to them. Every time I called him, he always casually said he was busy. But when I turned around, I always found Oliver accompanying Sophia and her son unintentionally. Later, he gifted Sophia and her child a house and a car. He also often picked up and dropped off Sophia's son, Kyle, from school. He acted like a good father. These things reached my ears. I asked him what was going on. He said he was just helping an old friend in need. He wanted me to understand him. I understood his thoughts, but at this moment, he was upset because of that little boy's rude behavior. Blame all the mistakes on me. This villa as a wedding house was prepared by Oliver. The servants were also brought in from the Thompson Group. The earlier scene made them look at me with subtle glances, with a hint of sympathy in their eyes. I, who am about to become Mrs. Thompson, is far less important than the status of that mother and child in Oliver's heart. I glanced at them and said nothing. 1 hour later, Oliver returned with Sophia and her child. It turns out that the child is allergic to dairy products. Because he drank too many dairy products, it caused a severe allergic reaction and even fainted. Oliver took the initiative to apologize to me. Emily, I misunderstood you in this matter. I hope you can continue to maintain this kind heart. He also said, if I find you targeting Sophia and her child, the wedding will be postponed indefinitely. This wedding has been postponed for a week. Consider it a reminder for you. I looked at him coldly. I asked softly, Oliver, you think this is reasonable? This is the first time I met them. That kid took my milk tea and drank it. As a result, he had a severe allergic reaction and fainted. What does this have to do with me? You found out he fainted from the allergy and said you wanted to give me a warning. You think you're so great. I am your fiancé, Oliver said without hesitation. I see. He still remembers that I am his fiancé, unfortunately. This fiancé only cares about Sophia and her child now. I have decided to cancel the engagement. You are no longer my fiancé. I will support you and Sophia and her child. If you agree promptly, I might still have some respect for you. Oliver frowned. He said in a cold tone, Emily, I remind you because I'm afraid you'll make mistakes in the future. If you don't appreciate it, so be it. They actually want to break off the engagement. Do you really think I wouldn't dare to agree to the breakup? Sophia beside him said anxiously, Oliver, this is all my fault. It's because I didn't educate Kyle well, that he took Emily's bubble tea. You can't break off the engagement over such a trivial matter. Otherwise, I would become the sinner. I understand that I am currently at a low point. I have caused you all a lot of trouble. I'll take Kyle abroad right now. Oliver hurriedly stopped Sophia and her child from leaving. He said firmly, this is Thompson Group's villa. As long as I don't let you go, no one can take you away. When Oliver said this, he gave me a meaningful glance. I smiled and said, this is indeed Thompson Group's villa. The ones who should leave are not them. The one who should leave is me. I turned around and walked away without looking back. Oliver did not chase after me. A gentle voice came from behind me. Sophia, you and Kyle don't worry. I will never let you suffer, Sophia said with a choked voice. Oliver, you've been so good to us, mother and son. I really don't know how to repay you. It was my mistake back then. I shouldn't have hidden my trip abroad from you. It's all my fault. Finally back in the country, but ended up in such a mess. I had to come to you for help, and it still caused an unpleasant situation with your fiancé. I really didn't want it to be this way. Oliver's voice became even gentler. Sophia, I don't blame you. I understand this wasn't your intention. I smiled slightly, thinking that men really are unreliable. I picked up my phone and called Grandpa. Hello, little you. Why did you suddenly call this old man? Grandpa's cheerful voice came through. I was calm just a moment ago. A sense of grievance suddenly welled up inside. My voice also started to choke up. Grandpa, what's wrong? Did you argue with Oliver? It's nothing else. I just miss you. I'll come see you when I have time. Grandpa seems a bit unhappy. He coughed a few times, agitated. I really was a bit thoughtless just now. I actually bothered Grandpa over such a small matter. He said, come back whenever you want. The Johnson family is your root. If you can't solve it yourself, go find your older brother. My older brother Michael is the future heir of the Johnson family. He really cares for me. It's definitely fine to ask him for help. But Oliver is the fiancé I chose myself. I don't need my brother to intervene. After hanging up the phone, I heard Oliver's dissatisfied voice behind me. Emily, don't throw a tantrum anymore. He might have seen me on the phone. Oliver seemed a little worried. Hurry up and follow me. He saw that I wasn't speaking. He said again, about our matter. No need to tell your family. And I think what you should do now is calm down. I said coldly. I'm very clear-headed right now. The engagement is canceled, and that's that. I have already apologized to you. What more do you want? Do you really think the Thompson Group is afraid of you? Oliver appeared very impatient. He waved his hand behind him. The wedding is postponed for a week. You should go back to your room first. Butler Mr. Brown noticed Oliver's actions. He immediately came over with a few security guards. Sophia looked quite pleased. It seemed she had anticipated this would happen. I looked at Mr. Brown and the others. I realized I couldn't leave for a while. My phone was taken by Oliver. I also couldn't contact anyone outside. However, I'm not in a hurry to leave. Right now, Oliver's mind is entirely on Sophia. You're probably worried about breaking off our engagement. I initially didn't take the annulment of our engagement to heart. But the next day, when Sophia appeared before me all smug, I really couldn't help but get angry. Emily, do you think this necklace looks good on me? Sophia stood at the door of my room, showing me the platinum necklace around her neck. It had an emerald pendant hanging from it. She was deliberately pretending to enjoy it. She said, Oliver thinks I dress too simply. He specifically found me this necklace from the makeup room. I heard this was left to you by your mother. Your parents sacrificed themselves on a mission. My older brother and I grew up at our grandfather's house. This necklace is the only keepsake my mother left for me. How could it be on this woman? I rushed over. I grabbed Sophia by the neck. I said coldly, Sophia, you better not challenge my bottom line. Take off the necklace. Maybe the anger in my eyes scared her. She hurriedly took off the necklace. Then she ran away crying. About 10 minutes later, my door was suddenly pushed open. Oliver walked in quickly. Emily, isn't it just an ordinary necklace? Sophia doesn't want me to spend money. I'll just borrow yours for a while. This is how you treat her. Oliver's eyes were full of blame. I heard you even choked her. You're the young lady of the Johnson family. How can you be so disrespectful? I was so angry I was trembling all over. I clenched my fists and stared at him. Don't you know that was left to me by my mother? So what? I can buy a necklace like that for Sophia anytime. You stop talking. Oliver, I couldn't be bothered to listen to his nagging. I interrupted him directly. If you want to save face, just cancel the engagement. I won't interfere with your relationship with Sophia. Don't worry. I'll go explain it over there at my place. Listen to my last sentence. Oliver clearly relaxed. He didn't say anything more. He quickly left. It seems he had been waiting for me to say that. He might have considered my family's situation before. That's why he hadn't expressed his stance. I retrieved my phone. I immediately contacted someone from the Johnson family to help me move. At the same time, I quietly handled my assets in the Thompson group. The next day, a group of people were helping me move things. Sophia looked surprised. She couldn't help but ask, Emily, you were living well. Why are you suddenly moving out? That's right. I have already clarified with Oliver. I need to move out quickly, I said to her with a smile. Besides, you surely don't want me to keep living here. It would affect your relationship repair, right? After hearing my words, Sophia's smile became even brighter. She even took the initiative to help me pack things up. Oliver is here too. He pulled me aside. He seems to have something to say but hesitates. Emily, have you heard any rumors about Sophia recently? I gave him a glance. I said coldly, no, I haven't. You suspect I spread it. I believe it's not you. It's just that. Oliver's expression seemed insincere. He is clearly doubting me. I might have felt sad before, but now I'm completely disappointed in him. I don't want to waste more words with him. I was about to leave. He grabbed my hand once again. Don't go yet. I haven't finished speaking. I broke free from his hand. I turned to look at him. What else is there? There are rumors in the circle that Sophia knew the other person had a partner but still intervened, without any shame. She has been crying ever since she found out. Her eyes are all swollen from crying. You need to handle this matter. Oliver looks so self-assured. This matter was caused by you. I hope you can help clarify this. The engagement is something you need to cancel. It's not me, Oliver. And when I marry Sophia, I also hope you can represent the Johnson family at the wedding. Then the rumors will naturally disappear. According to what Oliver said, the rumors indeed fell apart on their own, but I completely lost face for the Johnson family. He only cared about Sophia's feelings, but he never considered how much shame calling off the wedding would bring to me and the Johnson family. I gritted my teeth. I nodded vigorously and said, you can rest assured. I will definitely go. After returning to the Johnson family, my brother and grandfather didn't mention this matter at all. As if Oliver had never appeared. I didn't bring it up again. I just accelerated the withdrawal of investments from the Thompson group. About a month later, Oliver sent an invitation, announcing that he is going to marry Sophia. Previously, the situation between Oliver and me caused quite a stir. Everyone in the circle has heard about it. They know our Johnson family is going. They went along too. They said they wanted to see what was special about the Thompson group's wedding. At the wedding, Sophia was wearing an expensive wedding dress. She was glowing all over. Oliver also looked very happy. His gaze at Sophia was filled with tenderness. Emily, the bride was supposed to be you. Now that white moonlight has become the bride. The girls in the circle feel unfair for you, but I am quite calm. After more than a month of adjustment, my mood has settled down a lot. Oliver's situation stirred my heart slightly. Michael has arrived. I don't know who called out. Everyone looked towards the door. I turned my head too. I saw my brother standing at the door, looking spirited. As soon as my brother appeared, the atmosphere in the venue immediately became much more lively. The people around were sparkling with excitement, eager to watch the spectacle. Oliver furrowed his brow. He forced a smile and approached. "Michael, I'm really glad you could come. Don't call me brother. We're not that close." My brother waved his hand. His expression was calm. "I just came from a funeral. I happened to pass by and thought I'd come see." He took out a gift wrapped in white paper from his pocket. He casually tossed it onto the table next to him. "There are no red envelopes right now. Let's use this as a substitute for now. I hope you don't mind." Oliver's face looked terrible. His eyes were filled with anger, but he held it back and didn't let it out. Sophia glared at me fiercely. "This has nothing to do with me. I really didn't expect my brother to stand up for me like this." However, it felt quite satisfying. A crowd watched Oliver and Sophia. They laughed and pointed at them. They said, "Oliver and that woman really brought this on themselves. How dare they bully the daughter of the Johnson family? Not directly causing them trouble is already lenient. Just wait and see. This is just the beginning." Oliver was momentarily stunned. Sophia pinched him a few times. Only then did he come back to his senses. He couldn't help but ask, "Michael, what do you mean by that?" My brother raised an eyebrow and looked at Oliver. He said with a smile, casually, "Haven't I explained this already? This is just a small token of my appreciation. The formality isn't that important, right?" Oliver was shaking with anger. He pointed at my brother. His lips moved for a long time, but he didn't dare to say anything harsh. "By the way, I forgot to tell you." My brother was about to leave, suddenly remembered something. He turned back to Oliver and said, "From today on, we at Johnson Group will completely stop our cooperation with Thompson Group. You've been busy preparing for the celebration recently. You might not have received the news yet. I'll just let you know now." Why stop the cooperation?" Oliver said with a grim expression. "Emily and I agreed to call off the engagement. This is a private matter between us. It shouldn't be mixed with other issues. Oliver, my sister has already broken up with you. Do you understand?" My brother replied impatiently. Then he waved his hand at me. "Little sister, don't eat this awful food anymore. Big brother will take you out for a good meal." I didn't expect my brother to be so direct in falling out with Thompson Group, but seeing Oliver get a taste of his own medicine, I felt quite pleased. I stood up and walked over to my brother. Oliver had a displeased look on his face. He shouted loudly, "Michael, your actions will only make things harder for everyone. Have you discussed this with the old man? Why are you being so foolish?" My brother turned around. He poked Oliver's chest with his finger. "If it weren't for the fact that you are Emily's fiancé, could your Thompson Group's business be doing so well? Do you really think you are that impressive? If it weren't for you begging at my doorstep back then, your Thompson Group would have collapsed long ago. Now you actually bully my sister for that, mistress. Do you really think you can disregard us? Can you ignore the Johnson family now? Most of the guests around are just here for the show." I didn't expect my brother to suddenly explode in anger. People began to whisper among themselves, "Is this Oliver a bit off? Instead of marrying the Johnson family heiress, he actually married a woman with a child. If it weren't for Thompson Group being close to Emily, he wouldn't have been able to enter our circle at all." Now the Thompson Group is back to square one. A group of people were talking, suddenly realized that the situation was not good, worried about being implicated. Everyone started to feel restless, got up and left, just a few minutes. The once lively wedding scene suddenly became quiet. Only Oliver, Sophia, and the wedding officiant were left. Sophia gritted her teeth, hesitated for a while, then cautiously walked over to Oliver's side, spoke softly. Sophia said to Oliver, "Husband, it's okay even if no one comes to the wedding. The officiant is still waiting. Why don't we complete the ceremony first?" Oliver stood there in a daze, until Sophia nudged him. He finally came to his senses, then hurriedly ran outside. At this moment, there were hardly any people left at the hotel entrance. Oliver quietly complained a few words, rushed to drive to the company. Upon arriving at the company, he immediately called several executives, breathless. He asked, "Is the Johnson family's business on hold?" I see everyone nodding in agreement. Oliver then asked, "What will happen to Emily's shares in the company? And what about the funds in the account?" The finance director took out a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. He said in a low voice, "Emily's shares have all been sold. All of Emily's funds have also been withdrawn. What do you do?" Oliver watched the funds being withdrawn. His mind was in a state of chaos. He shouted in panic, "That is my money. How could she take it away?" The finance director's face turned ugly. He looked up at Oliver and said, "Oliver, there was an agreement before. Emily's funds and shares are her own. It's up to her to decide whether to sell or keep them. How could I interfere? At least you should have told me first." Withdrawing funds and selling shares both take time to prepare. Oliver seemed to finally understand, since the annulment of the engagement until now, the reason I never took action against him and Sophia. At that time, he still thought I had feelings for him. Little did he know I had already been secretly preparing for reckoning and revenge. "Oliver, I thought you were aware of this," the financial director explained in a low voice. Oliver sat helplessly in the chair. His heart was filled with regret. He blamed himself for not thinking of this sooner, but now it's too late to say anything. Oliver and Sophia's wedding became a laughingstock in their circle. Everyone called him a fool when they saw him. Oliver's days became increasingly difficult to endure, but Sophia was completely unaware of his feelings. She acted particularly happy in front of Oliver every day, busy coming and going, exercising her authority as the mistress of the Thompson Group villa, directing the butler and servants to do their work. However, in front of Oliver, she always pretended to be weak. She said, "Honey, from now on, let me handle the household matters. I will take good care of you. The situation has reached this point. Oliver can only endure it. He buries his grievances deep inside. This is his own choice. He can't blame the woman he has always cared about, just when they were planning to go abroad for their honeymoon." Oliver was suddenly called back by the company. "Oliver, the suppliers have all come over. They demand that you settle the payment immediately." The financial director looks troubled. He looks at Oliver with pleading eyes. His chubby face is covered in sweat. "If they want to settle, just settle it directly with them. Do I really need to be told about this?" Oliver has been immersed in Sophia's tenderness these past few days. His mind is completely not on the company. He was called back to the company just as he was about to board. His face is frighteningly dark, but the funds on the books are already insufficient. The financial director wiped the sweat from his forehead. He whispered, "The business department has completely stopped working. No new funds are coming in now. Let's settle a portion for them first. There's no need to pay everything at once. Let's talk about it." They all came rushing in to settle the bill. What do they want? Oliver is aware of the company's current predicament, but he feels helpless. He can only feel anxious. He said, "I have also considered this approach, but they won't listen to my explanations at all. Moreover, this is just a temporary measure. The key is still to solve the funding issue first." The financial director walked over to Oliver. He said with some helplessness, "Also, my wife arranged for many of her family members to join the company. They require reimbursements for their food, clothing, housing, and transportation." What? Why didn't HR inform me about this? The HR director is your brother-in-law. This was arranged personally by your wife. The financial director continued, "The rules set by Emily before have all been canceled now. If they continue like this, our company might be in trouble." Oliver angrily returned home. Sophia noticed that he looked upset. She thought something had gone wrong at the company. She quickly tried to comfort him. "Honey, don't be angry. Things will get better, Sophia. What exactly did you do at my company?" He questioned her unhappily. Upon hearing this, Sophia immediately burst into tears. "Honey, I'm truly doing this for your own good. I'm worried that you're too tired. I wanted to help lighten your load. Moreover, to prevent another incident like Emily's embezzlement, I had my family help out. After all, we are family." Oliver might really care about Sophia. He actually believed her words so easily. He ultimately decided to mortgage his property for a loan. Finally, he managed to raise some money. This temporarily alleviated the financial strain. But this is just a temporary relief. Oliver began seeking financial support from people in his circle, however, because he offended me because of Sophia before. Plus, his reputation for extravagance. These matters have long been spread in the circle. No one is willing to lend a helping hand. The Thompson Group, after experiencing a previous bankruptcy crisis, is now in trouble again. At this critical moment, Oliver finally realizes I was there, how stable and smooth the company was. At that time, he didn't have to worry about the company's affairs at all. I could help him with ideas and suggestions for both big and small matters. He just needed to take the project proposal and discuss his ideals. Because of my connections, there was always someone willing to give him face. But After it had nothing to do with me, no one was willing to give him that face anymore. The situation of the Thompson group is getting worse. Eventually, it caught the attention of Oliver's father, who was recuperating. He is in poor health. He couldn't even attend the wedding before, but because Oliver couldn't handle things, he had to rush back. He questioned Oliver. "Have you forgotten about kneeling at the Johnson family gate before?" Oliver's dad was so angry he was shaking. He raised his cane to hit Oliver. "So many people want to connect with the Johnson family. Look at you. For someone unworthy, you actually broke up with him. You've lost your mind." Oliver didn't dodge. He took several hits from the cane. Sophia held onto her son Kyle. She directly knelt in front of Oliver's dad. "Kyle, quick, call Grandpa, Dad. It's all my fault. It's not my husband's fault. Stop hitting him." Oliver looked at his wife kneeling on the ground. His eyes were red. He still stubbornly said, "Dad, I didn't do anything wrong. Look how pitiful Sophia is. This really isn't her fault. It's all that woman Emily's doing. She acted like it didn't matter before. Now she's deliberately retaliating against us." Dad Oliver looked at his son's stubborn appearance. He sighed helplessly. "The old Thompson family has been ruined by you. If I had known you would turn out this way, I shouldn't have chosen you as my successor. This child calls me Grandpa. I truly can't bear it. He is not your own flesh and blood at all. Let them leave now." Sophia realized her son was unreliable. Suddenly, an idea struck her. She gently touched her belly. She whispered, "Dad, even if it's not for Kyle, for the grandchild in my belly, you have to help us. Kyle might be sent away by them, but she is already pregnant with the Thompson family's child. She is not afraid of Dad Oliver's threats. Considering the child in Sophia's belly, Dad Oliver ultimately let Oliver go. After all, Oliver is the successor he has high hopes for. He believes Oliver can start anew. Dad Oliver eventually found quite a few old friends to help. He even took out his savings. This barely saved the struggling Thompson group from bankruptcy. After experiencing this incident, I have matured a lot. I politely declined my brother's invitation to join the group. Instead, I chose to open a flower shop in the city center. Although my romantic experiences haven't been smooth, seeing the young men and women who come to buy flowers every day and witnessing the way they first develop feelings for each other warms my heart. The world is vast. Beautiful things are everywhere. As long as one has a pair of discerning eyes, that is more important than anything else. I have already let go of the past. Until one day, one of my close friends came to visit me. She mentioned Oliver with a tone of schadenfreude. Oliver is in a bad situation now. He has lost all his rights in the Thompson family. All rights in the Thompson family have been revoked. He lives in a daze every day. He often drinks and gets into fights. What happened? Although I no longer care, I still can't help but want to know. Our Johnson family has completely severed ties with the Thompson family. We haven't taken any extreme measures against them. They shouldn't be completely falling apart, right? The Thompson group has always been maintained with difficulty by Oliver's father, but that kid Oliver seems to be confused. He lets that woman from his family bring her relatives into the company. As a result, the company is in complete chaos, although Oliver's father can't stand it. For the sake of the grandson that woman is carrying, he still held back. My best friend mocked. Ha ha ha. After that woman gave birth, Oliver's father went for a paternity test. He found out that the child wasn't even from the old Thompson family. I was a bit surprised. Although I knew Sophia was not simple, I didn't expect her to do this. The child's father is a friend she grew up with. She ran into him by chance after returning to the country. After one encounter, she became pregnant. Dad Oliver was furious. He kicked that woman and Oliver out of the house. He had his nephew take over the company. My best friend was getting into the gossip. I quietly poured her a cup of tea and continued to listen to her gossip. Oliver met Sophia, which embarrassed me. I decisively called off the engagement. Sophia met her childhood sweetheart. She cheated on Oliver. He became a laughingstock. He was hurt badly. This felt like an endless cycle. Not long after, I went to a bar with friends. By chance, I ran into Oliver, who was drinking there. He looked really miserable. His hair had turned gray. He was also unkempt. At first glance, it seemed like he had aged 20 years. Life is truly unfair. Why does it have to be like this for me? Oliver said unsteadily. His drunken gaze hazily looked at me. I'm still the same as always. A group of friends surrounded me. Everyone is very supportive of me. He seemed like he wanted to come over to me, but he hesitated and didn't approach. By the time the party ended, he was already gone. Later on, I noticed him wandering near my flower shop several times. I didn't pay much attention. He kept hesitating. He didn't come into the store to disturb me. But Sophia suddenly came to my flower shop with 2 kids. Emily, I finally found you. She looked very tired. Her skin was in poor condition. She had pimples all over her forehead. There were bruises on her body from being beaten from her condition. It seemed she wasn't doing well. Sophia stared at me with eyes full of resentment. She asked, "Sophia, what are you doing here?" Sophia glared at me. Her tone was angry. "What am I here for? I'm here to settle the score with you. I've become like this now. It's all your fault. You have to take responsibility." I can't help but sneer. I feel like there's nothing to say. In my relationship with Oliver, I'm the one who got hurt. She, as the beneficiary, actually turned around to blame me. It's really speechless. It's all your fault. After you broke off the engagement with Oliver, why still target him? Sophia's expression turned ugly. She raised her voice and shouted, "If it weren't for you withdrawing your investment, the Johnson family wouldn't stop cooperating. How could I end up being kicked out?" Sophia's complaints are completely unreasonable. She was the one who showed up first, used various methods to take my place. After she married Oliver, she herself did something to betray him. She betrayed Oliver. Now life is hard for her, and now he's blaming me again. My ex-fiancé. It's really quite laughable. How I spend my money is my own business. My family has terminated cooperation with the Thompson Group. The reasons are sufficient. I frowned. I don't want to say anything more to her. "You are not welcome here. Please leave now." "No way, you need to give me an explanation. Otherwise, I'll stay here," Sophia shouted while tightly holding her 2 children. "You will live here from now on. If she doesn't take care of our food and drink, you will cry. Cry, cry hard." "Why aren't you crying?" The 2 children were pinched and hurt. Finally, they started to cry out. Sophia also sat down on the ground and began to wail. She thinks this will make me compromise to compensate her. What a pipe dream. She walked into my flower shop. I immediately sent a text to the police. She came to me for compensation. It's completely self-inflicted trouble. I watched this farce with cold eyes. Suddenly, Oliver rushed out from around the corner. He was holding a dagger. He lunged straight at Sophia. Sophia screamed. "Oliver, what are you doing?" Sophia clutched her bleeding abdomen. She looked at Oliver in terror. She let out a loud scream. Oliver was still not satisfied. He continued to stab at Sophia with the knife. In the end, Sophia fell into a pool of blood. After Oliver finished with Sophia, he stood there in a daze. He was pinned to the ground by the arriving police. He said angrily, "It's all because of you. My whole life has been ruined. You've gone too far." Oliver looked dazed. He kept mumbling, "You deserve to die." Sophia passed away due to ineffective rescue efforts. Oliver committed acts of violence on the street. He was ultimately sentenced to death and executed immediately. After he passed away, Oliver's father fell ill. The Thompson Group collapsed once again. No one could save it. Upon hearing this news, I sighed for a moment, then comfortably lay on the beach in Hawaii, continuing to enjoy the warm sunshine.